Hi, my name is Sydney and it is November 1st, and so it is officially the first day of the Christmas season. Just kidding, but I am wearing my snowman onesie because I want it to be cozy and relaxed. So what am I working on in writing wise? Well, so on Friday I went to Barnes & Noble after work, and my goal there was to work on Stormcloud for like maybe an hour or so and then work on Hotel Story. Now, working on Stormcloud the last little while has been like trying to make fetch happen. Like it's just not gonna happen sometimes, you know? Like it's so difficult to figure out what I want, where I want to go with this story. Tomorrow, November 2nd, actually marks the 12-year anniversary from when I first came up with this story in 2009. But the reason why I'm still working on the story 12 years later is because I keep world building. That is the main thing that keeps happening, is that I keep world building. Every time I watch a movie or read a book or watch a TV show or experience the world or something, I'm like, oh, I need to add this particular element of something to my world building, whether it's an aspect of the government, whether it's an aspect of the society or the way that people are, or the history or whatever. You know, it's just like I keep world building, you know, so the world keeps getting bigger and bigger, and every time I make a change with the world building, it affects my plot because it determines how the plot's able to unfold. And so this keeps happening, which is why I keep restarting my drafts over and over and over again, because I restart the draft and I get working on that and I figure out some kind of issue, or I develop some aspect of the world building and then I have to start over again. And it's just like, when does it end? Maybe it doesn't end. Anyway, I've been taking notes. So I wrote 2 pages of notes about really 2 or 3 different elements, about kind of like how these elements are in my story and how I can bring them out more and how that can kind of help me refocus what's going on in this story. So that's kind of inspired me to open up my computer. Look at that, it just completely blocks the camera view. I'm going to open up my story now for Stormcloud and see kind of what I can do. I'm thinking, instead of just working directly in the manuscript of the story, I'm going to write out an outline. So that way I can kind of get a sense of the overall story instead of trying to dive into the manuscript blind. At this point with Stormcloud, I think that the best thing for me to do, like I tried discovery writing it and it only went so far. I just need to have clarity with this story, and I've not had that. In terms of November, yes, it is NaNoWriMo. I'm not admitting to doing NaNoWriMo because I feel like that's too much pressure on myself. I say that I'll do it and then I maybe do it for a couple days and then fall off the wagon or something. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. Instead, I'm just saying that I'm going to do this video today and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Alright, so it's later in the day and I am working on Stormcloud, outlining, and oh my gosh, I am going to drive myself insane with the indecision, with the back and forth when I finally do make a decision and then changing my mind because I doubt something or because I think the other idea works better, and then going back and forth between these ideas. I'm going to lose my mind. So I'm working on the outline, and Lord help me if I don't make a decision about Race having sisters. Like, at first I was like when I'm thinking about, so what happened, let me tell you what happened. I'm thinking about the beginning of this story and whether I've ever actually been happy with the way I've written the beginning of this story. And truth be told, I don't think I ever have. At least not where Race is a main character. Okay, I take that back. There are beginnings that I like. However, with all of my beginnings, there's always some element of it that doesn't feel right, that's not working, that's missing something. And I was thinking about, okay, well, in not really liking most of my beginnings, there is one beginning where I actually really do like it, and even having gone and trying to write different beginnings, since having written this, I keep coming back to this one beginning as this was the only time where it felt like everything was right, at least in the beginning aspect of it, and that is when Race had sisters. And it's not so much that she has sisters, so much as it is the dynamic between the sisters and the things that they bring out of each other and the way that... So I'm trying to make certain things happen when it's... So with it just being Race in the beginning, I'm trying to make certain things happen to give reasonings and background to certain aspects of her life, but it doesn't make as much sense when it's just by herself as it did when she had sisters, because when she has sisters, they played a part in these things that happen. And I'm trying to figure out, so like if I love this beginning so much, how do I make it make sense with the rest of the book? Because the only reason I got rid of her having sisters was because of the way that they affected the book in the long term. Was I afraid of change? Was I afraid of having to change the rest of the story because I now have to implement her sisters in it? Or was it that the way that they changed the story was in a way that just didn't feel like it worked? And I think what it is that I have envisioned an end to this series and an end to Race's story for a while that I really like. And her having sisters kind of messes with that. So if I can't figure out a way for her to have sisters but also have this ending, or for her to have sisters and to envision a slightly different ending, or a very different ending, then the sisters, it may not work. I don't know. Good Sunday morning. It's that early Sunday morning attempt at a writing session. I've got tea here in my glass Belgium stein, working on a storm cloud, and we'll see what happens. I'm outlining currently, and I've decided to leave her sisters in the story, so we'll see how that goes. So I just wanted to show you my outline. Okay, so here we have just general thoughts and ideas, anything that I'm kind of like considering randomly, I guess, about the story, and then major plot points of the book, just a breakdown of basically all of this. So this is Race's plot, my main character. Then we have characters whose names I've blurred out, but you can see like the first letter of their name. And then the family plot for Race and her sisters and everyone. And then organizational plot is like Race is going into this new world. It's run by, not an organization per se, but it's run by leadership. There's leaders, there's a whole system in place. So like, what's the plot involving that? And then the such and such plot is another plot that I've blurred out. Themes to explore, self-explanatory, and then scene outline, bullet points of each scene that happens. And then future books is just like, since this is a series, what are some plots and what are some scenes that are going to happen in later books? Especially as I go through this, I might be deciding to put a certain plot in this book and then later on realize, you know what, that plot's taking up too much space. I'm going to move it to a future book, so that I would just drag it and put it under future books here. Okay, so it's Monday, November 8th, and it's really dark in this conference room. The light is hitting me at weird angles, but I feel like in my videos lately I've been philosophizing a lot about why I've been working on the same story for now 12 years. And I'm just trying to give myself some grace, like have some understanding with myself, get to the root of things, and just figure out what's going on. And I've had another thought, working on this story in particular. This is my baby. And I've put so much of myself into like every aspect of it. I've created this world that it's so easy for me to sink into this world, and I daydream about this world. And I always want to be in it. You know, you get nostalgic for your past, you know, I rewatch my videos, I rewatch my old videos, and I think like, oh wow, like today, like on my OneDrive, it shows you memories like this day and different years past. And one video that came up in my memories was a video that I had recorded but never edited or uploaded, and it was just a video talking about like writing superstitions and stuff. But I'm just like watching myself in this video, like it was 4 years ago, before I moved to Massachusetts, and I'm just like, she was so young and so sweet. Working on my old stories is like working on myself, you know, like you're always growing, you're always changing as a person, you're hopefully growing for the better, like improving as a person in one way or another. And like I can't just give up on myself, and so I'm always working to improve it and make it better, just as I'm working to improve myself in some ways. On another note, I feel like a lot of the lessons I learn as a writer like in projects past, are kind of like learning answers for a test in one of your classes. Like I learned stuff just enough to get through the test, and then once the class was over, the information, most of it just kind of went right out of my brain. And I feel like that happens with my writing projects, where like I'll learn lessons. Like for example, I'll learn that a character needs to have emotional tracking and continuity, like the way that they feel at the end of one scene needs to be how they feel going into the next scene, until or unless something changes that. And so I feel like I learned that lesson, and I learn it and I remember it for the duration of a project. And then as soon as I finish that project and move on to something else, I've forgotten it. It's a new set of characters, it's a new world, it's a new plot. I'm not thinking about what's going on in the other story, and therefore I'm not thinking about the lessons I learned in the other story. And so it's just like having to relearn the same lessons over and over and over again. And it's like, well, when am I going to get it through my head? I don't know. Maybe I never will. But anyway, enough of that. I'm here. It's almost 5 p.m. Daylight savings happened, so the sun is setting an hour earlier, of course. So working on Storm Cloud. Yesterday, Sunday, I think I vlogged a little bit of the morning. I spent a good couple hours yesterday morning doing some really good outlining. Outlined a few of the characters' journeys to book one, and just also some paths that they might take in future books. And then, so I need to continue outlining. Once I finish going through and figuring out, I'm basically trying to figure out where does each character start and then where do they end at the book. Like how does their arc change throughout the book? What have they learned? How have they grown? All that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to figure out specifically how that happens for each character. And then once that happens, I need to go through and finish doing a bullet point outline for the rest of the scenes. And then once I finish going through the entire bullet list of scenes, I'll probably do index cards next. I've done enough rambling. I need to get to work now. So I'm going to listen to some music. Awkward camera angle. I'm in my car, and I just wanted to, let me put the heat on. Gosh, it's 42 degrees here. So I basically just spent today working on my outline. I started outlining and I was a little confused and distracted about what I was doing, and then I was like, okay, well, I basically was referring to an outline for my past draft, trying to figure out kind of just to collect some scenes, and then I'd order them later. And so then I was like, okay, I'm just going to break out my index cards and start doing that. But then in the middle of doing that, I was thinking about how I didn't totally understand why my main characters motivate, like what she wants, related to like kind of the overarching plot of the story. So then I started looking and thinking about that and looking into that and thinking about, okay, what the character wants versus what the character needs. and how those are, and then also how what she wants or needs for book one is not necessarily what she's going to want or need for the end of the series. And then I started like, okay, writing notes in my journal, trying to flush things out. I found an article that was talking about want and need, but also inner conflict, I think was what it was called. Their wound, and then also the truth. If I can find the article, I'll link it down below. It was really helpful. Gosh, it is so cold in my car. I need to get going. But anyway, after that, I started figuring out what is Race's driving thing through the whole story, and then also figuring out how the other plots in the story help her achieve this goal, basically. Sort of working backwards. And then after that, I started writing an outline that was specific to her plot, and just how that plot evolves throughout the story, taking the time to explain things and connect ideas, and then adding in how other plots kind of relate, how they feed this main plot, and it's making a whole lot of sense. Everything is like really coming together, and I got about maybe a third of the way through the book, and then it's 8:40 p.m. now, and I'm just leaving Barnes & Noble, and it's gonna be like a 40-minute drive home in the dark, and so that means I won't get home till like after 9, but so that's where I'm leaving now. But also kind of I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't immediately think or remember what happens next, so it's a good stopping point. But anyway, I have tomorrow off, so I'm gonna hit you up then, and that way I can get home now so I can stop wasting time in my car. Happy Veterans Day. It's November 11th, and I have the day off from work. So I just went to the grocery store. Tonight for dinner, I'm making palak chicken. I think that's how I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's Palak. It's basically chicken with in a spinach curry. And you guys know how much I love Indian food if you saw, one or two of my last videos. So, yeah, anyway, so now I'm going to go to one of my favorite cafes. And on the way there, I'm listening to this audiobook, Demon Voices, which, like, before you freak out, it's not what you think. It is a book by Philip Pullman, who is the author of, I'm right next to my bookshelf, The Golden Compass. So if you know that book, or the TV show, His Dark Materials, it's all based off of that series. So that book, Demon Voices, it's basically a book of essays and speeches that he's written about various topics of relating to stories and storytelling. And it's been really inspiring to listen to, especially since I love His Dark Materials is like, it just might be my favorite series of all time. I just love it. The world building, the storytelling, the writing style, all of it's excellent. It's nice to read his essays. And I'm listening to the audiobook from the library, and the author reads it himself. And he's kind of got a voice like David Attenborough, so it's really nice to hear him speak. But anyway, so I'm going to listen to that on the way to my favorite cafe, and then I'm going to do some outlining. It's a cold and rainy day. Wait, I don't think it's cold. I haven't been outside yet. I think the high today is like 60, so maybe it's not that cold. But it's rainy and windy and very overcast day. It's Friday, November 12th. Wednesday after work, I went to Barnes & Noble. So I was at Barnes & Noble from like 3:30 to 8:30. So I had some really great work there. I think I checked in with you from my car. And I basically just spent most of the time that I was working doing an outline. Instead of outlining the entire book one, I decided to focus on Race's kind of character development plot and just outline that. And that proved really useful because I was finding that I wasn't really able to see how what she wanted and what she needed was connected to what she was doing. So I needed to find a way to make it so that what she was doing and even the things other people were having her do, that there was still a reason that she benefited from those as well. Otherwise, like, she would have not been doing those things. She could have just said no. So she has to find something of use in these other events that are going on, something that connects back to her initial kind of wants and desires and needs from the beginning of the book. And then yesterday, I went to 2 cafes in one day. I didn't do much. It's easy to get distracted when I can't figure out what the next scene to go in the outline was going to be. I was just really distracted It was hard to come up with what happened next, so I was doing some research on different things to see if I could kind of encourage some ideas. I will continue to vlog the rest of the month, I think. Just kind of check-ins here and there as I work on this story. Yeah, so today is going to be the last day of this vlog, and like I said, I'll do another vlog later on in the month. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you next time. Toodaloo!